First off, Coach, I know it's a major accomplishment to get to the postseason, back-to-back years. So what does it mean to this program to get into the WPIAL playoffs once again?
Well, obviously it's a reward for the season. Getting in back to back, first time in the school history. So it's very important. Then, when we got here 5 years ago, that was the goal to make the playoffs, and we've done it 3 times now. So obviously the next goal is let's start winning. Let's start winning a playoff game or two.
Well, you mentioned 5 years for you. You had been an assistant before becoming the head coach this season. So I know that you're still focused on what's ahead, but looking back, the 4-6 record, including 2-3 in the conference, how have you evaluated how your first season at the helm has gone?
Well, I think that the main thing is we got better each week throughout the season. At the beginning of the year, I think we were trying to find some type of identity because we had lost so many starters from last year that, a new quarterback, new receivers, new running backs. I mean, there was just so many new guys, and we had to find some type of identity, which I think we did through the passing game, and we kind of started to get a feel for what was best for our kids, and even the defense. We started out the year, we tried to switch to a 4-4, and then we found out, we were still an odd stack 3-3 team, and we switched that the second game and at halftime, and we've been in it since.
I know you've probably talked a lot about your quarterback and your star receiver. Kiefer and Keffer, that connection has continued to grow. And I know teams are trying to take that away by and large. But when you think of those two and the success they've had, what has allowed them to be so prolific?
Well, I think initially people didn't know too much about them. So, we were getting away with one-on-one coverage with Ty. And the last 3 weeks, it's been, 2 or 3 players on him. Mount Pleasant had 2 of their best athletes on him the whole time, and we're shading him with others. So it was almost like 3 guys guarding him. So he's getting all that attention. We need other people. We have other people that catch the football, and they do great at that. But we need, some more explosive players. When they take away the guy who's scoring a lot of your touchdowns, he has 17 on the season. We need other players to step up and get in the end zone. And I think that's something we're still waiting for.
We talked about the game against Mount Pleasant. I know that always has real juice to it because it's a rivalry matchup. This year it was significant because it was to determine who would finish third, who would be fourth in the conference. Your team came up shy, 42-17. What did you see from that game that maybe gives you indications of room for improvement?
Well, obviously both teams came out. It was high-spirited, a lot of energy, a lot of penalties, typical rivalry game. I think we got caught up in the moment a little bit. But, basically, we know what they do. We just got to stop it. And, when they're running buck sweep with Labuda and he's getting chunks of yardage, I mean, that's on us. We got to stop that. And, from an offensive standpoint, they took Ty away. I mean, they had, Labuda and Reese, all 2 guys, 2 of their best athletes, on him. So, like I said, we just needed more people to step up and make plays. We were able to run the football with some pretty good success because they were so concerned with the pass. But, we're plugging. We have big running backs. They're strong. Sometimes I'd like for them to get through there and, make that explosive 30, 40-yard touchdown instead of that 9-yard hard, tough run.
So I'm sure it had to be tough losing that game and then seeing that as a result, Mount Pleasant winning that game gets a home game. What was the mindset like for your players after that? Because teams always want to head into the postseason with momentum. That's not the case for your team coming on the heels of 2 consecutive losses. And then how do you maybe right that ship?
Well, you're right. I mean, obviously, they were down, losing the last 2, especially to their rival. These are people they see at, Voc Tech School and, social media, and the teams have no love for each other. So, it's a tough loss, and those seniors, that's how they go out against their rival. But, the focus going forward is we still have an opportunity to win our first playoff game ever. And that's never happened here. So these guys can make history. They're 1 week away from an opportunity to make history in the school. And, if that doesn't motivate them, then I don't know why they're playing football.
So you get the number 12 seed in what is a 12-team bracket. Is that what you anticipated?
Yeah, I could spin this phone and show you on our board here that we had the loser of our game getting the 12 seed. That's exactly what happened. And we had West Mifflin as the 5 seed. I thought that might change after their loss to South Park in overtime last week, but they stayed at 5, and it's a 5-12 matchup, and hopefully it's like the NCAA, the 5-12. There's always an upset, right?
Well, for your sake, I hope so. I know that West Mifflin has a pretty good team. When you look at the Titans, what stands out about them?
Well, their quarterback's a very athletic player. He does a great job with running their reads. They run some jet, and he reads it and pulls it, runs power. He tends to like to run the ball, but he can also throw it, and he has some skill kids. But what jumps out to me is, they're by far the biggest team we're going to play. And these guys are enormous across the front. I'm talking 6'4", 330, 305. And they're not short, stocky guys. They're 6'3", 6'4", 300. So, I don't know how much we can move them off the line of scrimmage. I think from an offensive standpoint, pass blocking, I think we'll be able to get in their way. And, they might not be as fast. They're bigger guys. But, if they decide to come out and road grade us, we got to be aggressive and get in the gaps because they're just big people.
Well, I know you just alluded to some of it. Anything else that stands out as keys for your team to pull off this upset?
Well, I like our pass game matchup against their secondary. They have athletic guys, but it seems like watching their films, a lot of teams have had some success passing on them. So from our perspective, looking at the matchups we might have had, I think this one probably worked out the best. They're a good team and they're sound, but I think what we do can help keep us in the game. And then, the longer we stick around, the longer we have the chance for an upset.
Well, Tim, fingers crossed. I know it would mean so much to get that playoff win, but as you mentioned, getting to the playoffs back-to-back years, that's a historic accomplishment in its own right. Thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck on Friday.
Hey, thanks, Sean. We appreciate the coverage.